he leads the example for other junior traders to follow. And maybe we might get censored for saying this. If you have deep curiosity for something, if you have a deep passion, there's no such thing as 9 to 5 in trading.
Some of them, they don't understand how much commitment is really involved in it. So there's another story that's been on people's minds, and it's another trader that I wanted to talk about, and actually a tweet that we have from your tweet, and we can image that here on the video, about a trader who started as a runner, actually, in London, and he's now on track for a 7-figure year. And we did mention this briefly. What is the story with him? How can we let's start with that? What was his inception and how did he grow?
Yeah, so a post, an ex-post that I put on, I can't remember now, maybe a month ago. Traders, when I post something, it depends what type of trader you are. They feel, oh, Alex, you've jinxed me. And it's always quite funny, and I have to re-challenge them on some of their superstitions. But this trader, who's up approximately $600,000 this year, is a trader that started with us as a runner, and I love those stories. The hero, the trader, the hero in Traders of Our Time, our book Traders of Our Time, he started as a runner. And I love seeing that full circle journey. And what makes a runner on the floor then to be able to become a profitable trader and then a 7-figure trader and more, what makes a runner give a unique opportunity set is a runner can develop relationships fast with some of the best traders. Because by design and by default, a runner is there to make the coffee for a trader who doesn't want to leave his desk, maybe pick up some takeaways because there's some news coming out, so he goes down to the door when a Deliveroo or a Uber or whatever food delivery goes to pick that up, comes upstairs. Some of our best runners would actually sometimes give a gourmet service in the sense they'd put a folded napkin on a trader's table. So for all future runners, runners who who'll be starting with Axia, knives and forks, nice little cup of coffee. If you really want to develop great relationships with a senior trader, is know how to make a really good cup of coffee. And so he started as a runner, and what was really different with this runner is that he did have a social humility, a social intelligence. And he was able to develop very close relationships with some very key traders very early on in his career. Now, that type of social intelligence met with an ability to do your own deep work. Again, you can have all the intelligence in the floor, but you might not be able to unlock it. You don't know how to unlock it through conversation. You don't know how to unlock it through your own distillation process. And so this is also a trader who had his first $200,000 week this year. He's just fallen short of his first 100K day, so he's still trying to push for that 6-figure day. But why I love this trader is, and provided he keeps on the pace, because one thing we can never, as a management team, we can only give advice. We never know what happens when all of a sudden they've got more money to spend in their life. Does that change their routine? Does that change what got them there? Does that change that drive, that ability? But what is special about this trader is not only the conversations that he leveraged with senior traders, he's also had the pleasure and the joy and that pleasure of being mentored by not only the collector, but also the warrior. The collector was instrumental for him becoming profitable, for him taking those low-lying fruit profitable trades in the market, these so-called Pacific type of flow events that occurred at a specific time of the day, and he built an entire infrastructure and a system, a backtesting system of how to take on those trades and when they were in play. And he was able to just take over and make money. And he was doing extremely well during a low volatility period of April 23 to August of 24. He was doing incredibly well, picking off the markets when a lot of traders were struggling. And that was a result of deep collaboration with a senior trader being the collector. Then he started forging a much more close relationship with the warrior from Traders of Our Time. And that drove aggression, his ability to be aggressive in emergent trade opportunities, and his ability to not think of his trading and his risk and opportunities and how to size up incredibly aggressively. And so the warrior, with his own warrior type personality, whenever this young trader had a good day, the warrior would say, "That's not a good day. Why didn't you put that amount of size?" And so the warrior was never satisfied with his performance. And therefore he thought, well, I can't be satisfied with my performance. And this is what helped push and elevate his performance. What also makes this trader, we talk about some very strong learning attributes. What also this trader is novel and new. He's no programmer, but he's using these modern technologies such as these AIs to create all these tools for him to have greater bandwidth in seeing opportunity. So he's becoming part of that new generation of trader that is using these modern tool sets, AI tools where you don't need to be a programmer, where you can just deploy and engineer prompts to code some alert features on your technical charting landscape to bring information to you quicker, on your news landscape. And so he's now becoming a little bit of that hybrid, whether you call it hybrid, whether you call it bionic, whether you call it of the symbiosis between left and right brain, of leveraging the tools that we have and scaling your own intelligence as a human. And so I'm seeing him becoming part of that next generation, that next evolutionary swift of bringing on these new technologies into the future's discretionary day trading, but not putting to bed that the human trader is dead, because without the human trader, there's no of the tools. You don't have enough experience of markets to know what to engineer in your tools. And so he's this trader now that is on his path, but it was a path where many times he was on the brink of whether he would make it or not. But he had the resilience. He was, even at the early days of Cyprus, where he made the big move to Cyprus, there was so much doubt. And all of these stories with all of our traders, they all came from many areas of doubt, because you don't get rewarded in the market without overcoming doubt, without overcoming all these trigger points. No trader who's made it without doubt.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, what's your perspective of this trader?
I mean, it's been fascinating to follow his journey for me. One, because he's mentored by the two traders, the collector and the warrior, and to see how that hybridized him, away from not talking about the modern edge and everything else, but just how he's taken attributes from both and how his journey and how he keeps pushing him. And I'm very much in awe actually on his habits and his resilience to keep coming back and to keep doing it. And for me, he embodies what we call modern edge, in my opinion. He does a lot of hard reflection. He's got that tech enhanced logic, working with AI and doing all these things, but at the same time having his core, the principles that he's learned, the traditionalist almost kind of sides to him. And he's got a really good ability to build meaningful relationships as well with the grads, and the grads look up to him in that way. The question that I had that I wanted to ask is what's been key in helping him cut the fat in his playbook from your perspective? Because I've seen him do incredible trades, and we talk a lot, when he's doing his trades, when he's had his good days, when he's had his days which he's been a bit frustrated, but from your perspective, what do you think has been instrumental for him to cut that kind of fat, so to speak?
I think the collector was instrumental in this process. So when he came out to Cyprus, they'd had many Sunday sessions together. The collector would take them out for dinner. Collector's always been so instrumental for was with a couple of traders at this place on Limassol beachfront this weekend called Namos. I think they were maybe dancing on the table, Greek style. And this is the pleasures of being out in Cyprus. And as part of your journey, there's two kind of fundamental phases in this game. The first phase is experimentation, deliberate experimentation, like having a plan, trading, but experimenting as often as you can in the markets, not seeking P&L gratification. It's all about learning gratification. What are you learning? And so you have to keep on exposing yourself to the market, trading, learning, trading, planning, trading, learning, planning, trading, learning. And so you're consistently doing this process. But what happens then is you start finding edge, but you're still overexposing yourself in other areas. But then you have to reach this inflection point where you now need to cut the fat of the trades that are off the 50-50, the attritional trades. Remember, once you start getting to a phase where you have edge, you need to protect your edge. And protecting that edge is you're protecting the risk capital to deploy into that trade. You're protecting the emotional capital. You protecting the energetic capital. And so there's nothing worse when there's a trade that comes up that you have had the attritional warfare. You're lethargic, you're tired because you've been participating in all these 50-50 bets. And so you've got to start cutting away all of those trades. And this is what the collector helped him say, why are you trading in these areas? You have edge here. Just start focusing that. You don't, because our brain has this bias to action. Yeah. It's rooted in us, this bias, because it's a flight or fight mode. But this bias to action, how do you actually engineer it for the positive? And how I would say to a junior trader, this bias to action is actually have a bias to plan. Instead of action of trading, every time you don't, there's not real edge in the market, just plan. If you need to be doing something, most people explore their doing something by just trading instead of doing something by planning more. And then the trade comes to you. And so once he started having these conversations, that he could now split a paper in two and say, well, this is where I make money. This is where I don't make money. The areas that I don't make money, if I participate them, I actually water down my edge. And it was as simple as that. But that behavior needs training. Because you always get lulled in. Like the market is like a siren, especially when you have a price ladder in front of you. And that price ladder, when it's flickering like being in Vegas, and it almost, it seems like there's a party happening in the markets. And I'm not trading, or I'm not part of this party. And as humans, we have FOMO. Traders are the worst of it. We have a lot of FOMO. And you're seeing all these actions, all the lights flickering on the ladder. Now, maybe volatility has increased. And you feel, I need to participate in it. There's money I'm losing out. But yet you don't even have a plan or a play to participate in that trade. And so that graduation from I've experimented, I've participated, I've now discovered edge. Now that I've discovered, pockets of edge, how do I release those areas that I don't have edge? And so that's kind of your next little iteration, graduation. That's the cutting of the fat.
Yeah. And another thing, just as another observation for me as well with him, is his relentless commitment to the desk. Whether it be he's there at 2:00 in the morning because he knows that there's going to that planning side of things now, knowing that there might be something happening at this time or that time. His relentless work ethic, I think, for me, has been really standout. And I think it's a really good example for a lot of the grads.
And Peter, on that, and I think maybe we could even segue, because I know the discussions that you have with junior traders joining the desk. Yeah. And during the week, we don't really believe in, maybe we might get censored for saying this, but we don't believe in work-life balance during the week. A trader, this trader in point, he leads the example for other junior traders to follow. That if you have deep curiosity for something, if you have a deep passion, there's no such thing as 9 to 5 in trading. It's where the opportunity is, firstly. And so junior traders, for us, one of our first measurements is if a junior trader on the desk treats this job as a 9 to 5. That's our first, no, does he really want to be a trader? And my question, I even had the HR manager approach me saying, Alex, how do we give these guys, some holidays? I want to have some breaks. So, well, the first year, I'm not really concerned. If they want to have a few breaks, go find a job, a 9-to-5 job. If a trader's truly burnt out, yeah, we want them. I mean, don't get me wrong, we want them to break. But if they're burnt out because on a Friday night they go out and booze up, they go have a smashed up weekend, and then they want to have a break. No, actually, your first break, your resuscitation, your recharging is on the weekends. Ice baths, meditation, yoga, gym, exercise. Wake up early in the morning during the week and do, we're fortunate in Cyprus that really the markets for us are only around 10 a.m., 8 a.m. UK. We've got the gym. We have the pool. You're here to change your career, to change your financial future. And I mean, what are the discussions or what are the observations, you see? Was I know you have these discussions many times.
Of course. I mean, for me, when we do have new grads who traders who are coming onto the floor, of course, some of them they don't understand how much commitment is really involved, and some of them will ask the question of who do I ask? And I've had this question asked recently: who do I ask for holiday? And while he's still running the blueprint program and everything else, I said, well, your future boss in another company was basically the answer to that, because right now you're here for the career. You have all of the most perfect environment, the oasis that you mentioned earlier, around you, but you need to be the one that's going to be there to take it and to benefit from it. There is no burnout, in my opinion. You haven't got an account to burn out. You have yourself, and you're learning and you're yearning. And right now, there is no time for holidays. There's only time for commitment and being at your desk. And we have so many people who, take somebody's right arm to have a desk and to be on that floor. And everybody that comes to my floor, our floor, I want to always make sure that they're aware of that and say, you're incredibly privileged to have this opportunity to be here. So I want to see you take it, and I want you, I want to see that commitment. I don't want to see 9 to 5. If the other traders are, so one thing I say, if the other traders are here, the live guys, they're here for a reason. There's no reason that you should be leaving before them if you want to learn. So that's how, it might be a bit too harsh, I think. But.
No, and like you said, our best grads who, when they go live, start making money, those are the ones that have passed the test of, we have, the junior trader on the floor that shouted out for the collector to have his 7-figure day trade. That junior trader is first before every trader on the desk, leaves last, and because of that simple behavior, he has respect for the senior traders, and therefore the senior, because he's created that respect, they share with him more. Yeah. So you've got to almost earn your stripes for edge transfer, knowledge transfer, and that's one of our methods for earning your stripes to more information on a desk.
And that also trickles down to the grads, because the grads also see that bar raised so high. And I remember when that junior trader first joined the floor, and he said to me, what time do you get in? And I said, well, nobody gets here before me. Nobody really leaves after me. He said, well, we'll see about that. And I was like, okay, well, we will. And he, to his credit, one of the hardest working grads I've ever seen. He's absolutely relentless. He comes in early, one of the last to leave, and if he sees that there's some correction that is needed in his application or anything else, he will not leave that office until he does.
No, every guy. I mean, he's certainly a hard working grad, but every of our best traders all had that DNA in them in the front. There was no time in the day, and he has a trader that keeps in shape. He's in great shape. Goes to the gym, in the pool on weekends, looks after himself, and so he doesn't have fatigue. So you don't, being that many hours at the desk, you don't have fatigue if you're looking after yourself outside. Your diet, your physical exercise, all those elements do support that type of high performance.
Yeah. No, great example.